I am so excited to share that you can now watch all of my upcoming podcasts on my brand new YouTube channel for the What Now podcast. So many of you have asked for more video content, and now you can watch these powerful conversations face to face. Every story, every testimony, every moment of faith and resilience, you'll now find it all on YouTube. So I'll be posting more of my episodes there, along with new short clips and deeper insights to help strengthen your faith and remind you that you are never alone on this journey. I invite you to subscribe on my YouTube channel at Podcast What Now. That's at Podcast What Now, so you never miss an episode.
This is the What Now podcast.
In this episode, acclaimed artist Jenedy Paige shares how faith, grief, and personal loss shaped the powerful artwork she creates today. Her paintings tell stories about identity, healing, and the truth that we are children of God with divine potential. Jenedy also shares the surprising prompting that led her to compete on American Ninja Warrior for 6 seasons despite having no athletic background. Her story is a powerful reminder that when we trust God and keep moving forward, we often discover strength we didn't know we had.
This is the What Now podcast.
Today I'm here with Jenedy Paige. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mary Alice.
I'm so happy to have you on. I just met you in such a serendipitous way when my friend brought me over to your studio, and it's just so fun that we connected. So
I know. I was like, wait, you have a podcast? Okay.
And here we are.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, I love your paintings, and I had the opportunity to kind of get a tour of your studio, and you're known for how your paintings represent the human experience. What made you decide to focus on this area of art?
You know, I actually thought I was going to be a children's book illustrator. And so I studied illustration. And when you study illustration, every image that you create has to have a purpose. It's like you never create a painting just to be pretty or to put it on a wall. It's all like, what is the story? What is the concept? What are you trying to say? And I think because I studied art and came at it from that perspective, I've just naturally wanted to share a story every time that I paint or share a concept instead of just painting something pretty. I also fell in love with art my senior year of high school through keeping an art journal. And I had kept a journal since I was 10. And so to be introduced to art in the form of a journal was just perfect for me. And instead of writing how you felt that day, you would create an image about it. And I basically just continue to art journal. I just do it on a canvas now instead of a book.
It's interesting too, because what I really like is I bought a bunch of your prints, and on the back you have the story behind it. So you really understand what you're looking at.
Yeah, I love to write as much as I love to paint. And writing is very integrated to the painting process because for me, I start with a journal. I try to write as often as I can. And a lot of times when I'm writing, concepts for a painting will evolve. And so it's very natural to go from writing to painting. And then even after I'm done painting, I write about the painting. And sometimes I learn more when I go back and write about it after I've even painted it. You know, I might think, oh, I'm painting this concept and then paint it. And then I write about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, there's another concept here, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like this painting behind me is called Every Sparrow. And this has been like a very pivotal piece for me. And it's of a sparrow falling into the hands, very capable hands. They could represent the Lord. They could also represent another person who's going to catch you, I think. And it's funny because when I painted it, I thought that I was a bird falling into hands, right? And I also realized that no, sometimes I'm the hands and catching other birds, you know, and it's so interesting how my paintings are like multi-layered in the paint, but they're also multi-layered in the meaning. And so that's why I love writing so much, is because it helps me discover even more of the meaning behind my paintings.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have a print of that in my house and I love it. In fact, I gave it to my sister who works a lot with mental health. And that's her big passion, is supporting people in mental health and women, abused women. And I sent her a print of that just because it feels like, you know, when you're falling lifeless like that bird and you're caught by Heavenly Father and saved. I just think there's so many amazing interpretations of that. I love it.
I I know. And that's what's so beautiful about art. They often say that art is a mirror and you see yourself in it. And I've seen it happen over and over again. I have another painting I painted of my hand reaching for my son who passed away, and my hand is chained down, and the chain is for me representing gravity and mortality and feeling like held down here by time, hence the watch. And then like my son has moved on to eternity, right? And that's what I painted. But then I had another person come to an art show and they stood there and they looked at it and they're like, I know exactly what that painting's about. And I was like, oh, tell me. And he's like, I just feel so weighed down by addictions and like I'm wanting to progress, like I'm wanting to reach the hands of heaven, but I feel so weighed down by these addictions that are holding me down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and yeah, like of course, like that's whenever, you see your own experience in art. And I love how people can bring their own experiences to my pieces and add their own personal layer to it.
I know. I love that. I mean, what do you hope women understand about themselves and divinity when they stand in front of your artwork? Your artwork is powerful.
Oh, thank you. I guess it depends on the painting, what I hope they feel, but I, for one, for sure want them to recognize who they are. I think as soon as I started to pick up a brush, one of the main concepts I wanted to say was that you are a child of God. I think that identity, knowing who you are, is so powerful because if you recognize your relationship to God and if you realize who He is, and then if you are his child, well, then what is your destiny?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
and you are made to overcome all things. You were made to do the impossible. You were created to become a goddess yourself. And so that is like a major theme I think I have throughout my art in a variety of ways is who God is, who we are, what our relationship should be like with Him. And then through our relationship with Him and His Son, we can be empowered to do all things.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because you were saying overcoming all things, empowered to do anything. You tried out for American Ninja Warrior. Talk about the power to overcome anything.
I
Jeez.
was actually just this morning at 6 a.m. I was coaching a ninja class, and it's been so fun because I had two new people in my class today, two new women in my class today, and it is the coolest sport because it's constantly expanding what you think is possible for yourself. And how did I even end up here? Because I'm telling you, I was not an athlete. I did try out for cheerleading in seventh grade and didn't make the first round of auditions. I did do a half a season of cross country my 10th grade year. I quit halfway through the season because I was tired of feeling like I was going to barf after every race. I did
Did you
do a
even do
brief
Ninja Warrior? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I did do a brief stint on a competitive jump rope team when I was 10. I It was only brief because we moved, and when I moved to Utah, they didn't have a competitive team here. But that was like my athletic prowess. Okay, and then I started running. I was running for fun, kind of on and off again through college, and then when I was a mom, I figured like this was the easy way I could work out. It didn't require money. I was poor. I didn't need a gym membership. I could just go run. So I ran casually. And then in 2012, I did my first 5K. Okay. So this was my athletic background. And then in 2015, we moved to Utah and there was a rec center. This was 10 years ago, just up the street from my house. And I thought, maybe I should go take some classes sometimes. I told my husband, I think like those mom workout classes would be fun. So I started taking those, and I was like every other mom with like 5 pound, 8 pound weights. A day I was feeling super strong with like 10 pounds in our hands.
I've
And
been there.
yeah, so I did that for 3 years though, and I was consistent. And this is a concept that is very prevalent throughout my story, is like the consistency. Like by small and simple things are great things brought to pass. Like I did build a good foundation of strength through simply going to mom classes at the gym like 3 days a week. Okay. Then it was the fall of 2018, I started rock climbing. just because my little brother invited me to go. He had like a free pass to the local gym, and I was like, yeah, let's go, like hang out with my brother. And at the climbing gym, the routes were called problems, and that just really spoke to me. I think it was like there was like a mental aspect to the workout. It wasn't just physicality. It was like, how am I going to solve this problem? And then I loved solving problems. Like you could choose your hardness level, which is amazing. You could go to the gym and say, I just want to climb all of the beginner climbs. And you could still feel amazing when you conquered those problems, right? So I was literally 3 months into that little climbing experience when I'm at the gym one day and I felt a prompting. And the prompting said, you should apply for American Ninja Warrior.
What?
And I had seen the show. In fact, I was actually a huge fan of the show. I loved the show because it just told these incredible stories of humans who, like, I remember a kid, Abel Gonzalez, who lost his parents really young, and he was like the oldest in his family, and he had to like parent his younger siblings. And he overcame this tremendous obstacle, and his motto was like, we are all able, and his name was Abel. How cute is that? And it, like every time I turned on the show, it was some incredible human, and then they go do something that just seemed absolutely insane, like throw their body through the air and catch things, and I remember sitting on the couch watching the show. I look over at my husband. Hey, would you ever do that? And he said, no. And I was like, yeah, me either. That's crazy. I would never do that.
Never say never.
I know. Why would I even ask that question? It was so random.
Yeah.
But, so when this thought came to me, I thought of that conversation I had with my husband on the couch. And I was like, no, there's no way. And so I just pushed it aside and I just kept climbing. And then every time I went to the climbing gym, that it kept coming back. And I just learned from experience that if you have a thought that you should do something that is a good thing and you're resisting it, it generally means it's coming from God, because he will often give you things that are outside your comfort zone because he wants you to grow.
Right.
So he gives you difficult things on purpose. And I was feeling it, and the thought kept coming so much that I had to pray about it. And at the time, my kids were really young. They were like 5'3", like 5'3", 5'7", or something like that. And so at home, you don't have a lot of quiet time. So when do moms pray? In the car. So I'm literally driving home from the climbing gym. I'm stopped at a red light, and this thought keeps coming. And so I just have this moment of quiet. In my car, I out loud asked, Heavenly Father, it's so funny, but I keep having this reoccurring thought that I feel like you want me to apply to American Ninja Warrior. And I feel almost weird asking you because it's just so out there, but I have to ask because it keeps coming. And is this something that you want me to do? Like, I just felt like the spirit like fill my car. And then you're like, crap, now I have to do it.
Gear up.
Wait, now I have to.
Getting real.
Yeah. Anyways, so I went home and I typed in American Ninja Warrior casting, and the website came up, and I learned everything that I had to do. And it actually wasn't that difficult. I just had to pretty much tell them my life story in a series of essay questions. And the questions crack me up because they're like, what professional sports have you played in? Like, what NCAA sports were you in?
Yeah.
And what do you hold any world records? Like, and I'm thinking like, well, I was on a jump rope team in 10th grade, or like, you know what I mean? You
track halfway through.
Like, I did like a half a season of cross country, and I ran a 5K.
Hilarious. You're like, okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to make a video. And the video is just 3 minutes, and it's supposed to be of you in a ninja gym, and also just a little bit of an interview telling your story. So I didn't have a ninja gym close to my house at the time, and so I went to a trampoline park where they have like birthday parties for kids, and they had a few ninja obstacles there, and that's where I filmed my first video. Now, I will say at this trampoline park, the obstacles were high because they had giant airbags underneath, right? So they were probably like 15 feet off the ground.
Oh, that's high.
So they had that going for them. And I had been to this place before with my kids, and I had attempted many of these obstacles, but had never really sent them, right? And like they had a rolling log. And I remember before, like I'd go with my kids and I would just stand there and I just kind of like push the log with my foot and I'd watch it spin and be like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And then like I would go to the next one. They have this one called the double steps, and it looks like inverted stairs. Okay. So you like, they're like little pieces of wood, and you're supposed to kind of do some little pull up and climb the stairs. And then at the top, there's a 4-foot gap. And I remember being there with my kids, and I was proud of myself because I had made it to the top of the little ladder thing. And then I remember looking over my shoulder and being like, what? This is like levitate over there? Like how am I supposed to get 4 feet in the other direction, you know?
Yeah.
And so I would just come down and be like, I have small children. I shouldn't be doing this. So when I go to film, I had hired a filmmaker in my neighborhood to help me. And he was like, okay, we're going to do all these obstacles in one shoot. You're going to go up the quintuple steps. You're going to run across that log. You're going to do the jumping spider. You're going to do the double steps. And we're going to do it all in one take. And I was like, okay. I've never done this before, but let's see how this goes. So I go to the starting line and I'm thinking, this is crazy. What am I doing? And all of a sudden, I felt my son who had passed away. Like he was standing right with me. And he said, let's do this, Mom. And then all of a sudden, that fear, it just left. The hesitation left because my angel just said, let's freaking go. And I was like, okay. So then I just went and I ran across that log. And I did the jumping spiders, like a tension move. Your body moves like this. And then I got to that spot at the top of the double steps where I'd always just been like, there's no way. And I didn't question. I just went. And I caught the other side. And I came down and I looked at my husband and I said, I have never done that before. And he was like, I know. And I said, maybe I could actually be a ninja. So that was my application. And then after I applied, this was like in November, I told my husband, maybe I should like take ninja classes somewhere. I mean, I don't think they're going to call me to be on the show, but if they did and I hadn't even trained, I'm going to look like such a fool. After I applied, I figured that I better go practice somewhere. And I found a ninja gym an hour from my house. And it was pretty awkward going to sign up because usually they teach classes to children. And so when a 34-year-old mom walks in, they're not quite sure what to do with her. But they put me in a class with a bunch of like college kids, teenagers. It was awesome. And one of the first things that you have to learn how to do is called the lache. And it just means you're going to hang on this metal bar. And then there's another metal bar 6 feet away. And you're going to swing and then throw your body and magically catch that bar 6 feet away. And I remember just swinging on that bar thinking, I'm 5'7". That bar is 5 inches further from me than I am tall. And is it like, is this possible?
Yeah.
It just seemed so crazy. And I fell and I fell and I fell and I got bloody hands. And then finally I caught it. And this is the pattern of what is ninja. This is what my students still do when I'm teaching this morning is you try something impossible and you fall a million times and then you finally send it. And when you do, that wall of impossibility bursts and you realize that you are capable of more than you thought. And that is what I have loved about the sport. So after a good 3 months of training, they called me to compete on the show.
Yay.
And like you go, and it's so scary because you're at this huge arena. There's all these, like, it's a full TV setup. So big booms and the obstacles are huge. And you're sitting backstage. They don't let you try anything. Okay. So your first time up there is the first time that you've tried any of these obstacles.
Tricky.
And you're backstage with all these other people who are like, yeah, I was on Team USA's like gymnastics and competed in the Olympics. And somebody else is like, yeah, I've been in the NFL. And you're like, I ran a 5K once. We're basically the same. Just so like I remember writing in my journal that day that I felt like David. Like I mean, I know I wasn't like my life wasn't on the line, but it just felt that impossible to me. And you just take a deep breath and you go, and that same angel you hope is with you, when you're up on the course.
Yeah.
And my first time, I actually did really well. There's 5 obstacles and a warp wall on every course on American Ninja Warrior. And I made it to the 4th obstacle on my first rookie run. And I thought, amazing, perfect. I'm going to just share my story on TV, and then I can just go back to my life. I feel like in my head, I felt like God asking me to do American Ninja Warrior was like this weird little tangent that here's my life on this beautiful line. And then we're just going to, hop right back in. Kind of reminds me of like Peter in the New Testament after Christ dies. He's like, well, guess I'm going to go fishing. It was like that was an interesting little blip.
Yeah.
And then God's like, no, Peter, actually your whole life just changed. And for me, I didn't know it, but my whole life was changing, So after that, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just thinking, like, what did qualifying for American Ninja Warrior represent to you beyond the physical accomplishment? I mean, you had mentioned earlier about your son, how he had been kind of involved with this. And he's like, Mom, you've got this. And you had kind of like a power beyond the veil helping you.
Well, and my son's name is Victory, And so that continues to be something that drives me because I've competed 6 times now, and I've never completed a course perfectly. And it continues to be like this dangling carrot for me, that my son's name is Victory. And I really hope one day to be able to have that moment,
Yeah. And how many seasons?
6.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So, okay. So I
Wow.
originally I thought, oh, we're just going to go compete this one time. Right. And then I get home and everybody's so excited. Like all those women I was working out with at the rec center up the street were like, oh, when do we get to watch you on TV? And it's all so exciting. And then I got an email that said, you did so well for your rookie season, but you competed with too many celebrities and we don't have time for you on primetime.
Okay.
And it just felt like, I remember when I got that email, I just cried because it felt like the biggest letdown. And I felt like God had asked me to go do this huge thing so that I could be a missionary, so I could share my story on TV. And then none of it happened. And so then you just go back in prayer and you just say, well, that didn't go like I thought it was. And what's the next step? And God said, Jenedy, you have been training for 3 months. So what if you trained for a whole other year? It was like, wait, we're doing this again? I thought that was just like, okay. Because what I thought was this little tangent was actually more like this, Yeah. And anyway, so then I did it again and I did it again and I did it again. And then after the 4th time, I was just frustrated because they had never aired my run. And I was just like, why do we keep doing this?
Yeah.
And then I in frustration and prayer, asking God that question, he said, wait, did you think this was about TV, Jenedy? Wait, do you think I care about reality TV? And you're just like, I don't know. I mean, you're the one that asked me to do this. And God's like, Jenedy, look at you. You are a totally different person now than you were 4 years ago. Look at your arms. Like, I didn't just ask you to go do something, Jenedy. I need you to become something. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, guess that is kind of cooler than just being on an episode of a TV show,
That's a good distinction too, doing versus becoming.
Yeah. And I realized that God didn't just need me to compete. He needed me to become a ninja. He needed me to become a stronger person, a stronger version of myself. And I'm telling you, if you need something that will make you stronger, throwing your body from things and catching things will definitely do it for you. And then it was kind of amazing because I learned it was this big perspective shift for me that it wasn't even about the TV show. And then it's crazy because the next season they actually aired my run.
Interesting.
And then I competed again this last fall, and it will be aired next summer, so in June.
I can't wait to watch it.
That I will be aired for a second time. 2 out of 6.
Look, I hope so. I've been dying over here training for this. I've seen you do pull-ups. I think, oh my gosh, this is the hardest things to do.
Well, and that's another thing. You know, what's crazy is that God is so beautiful the way that he works, because he actually did prepare me for this. I just couldn't see it, you know, because in 2017, so the year before he asked me to do this, my New Year's resolution was learn to do 1 pull-up. Why did I care?
Yeah.
Why was that even in my heart, you know? But it was. And I remember I spent 2017 attempting and finally got a pull-up, my first pull-up. And a pull-up is very similar like to that first Lachey experience. You know, it's something that for a lot of women especially feels like I'll never do that.
Yeah.
You know, like
I've tried.
You hang from a bar and you like energetically think about like pulling your body up, and it's like you get this far and you just think, no, I'll never do that. Right.
Well, you're using your whole body weight against gravity. I mean, you use resistance and gravity as metaphors for many of your paintings.
Yeah,
you know?
I for sure do.
You know, that what resists us actually makes us stronger. I mean, how has that principle played out in your life?
Yeah, I actually did this painting inspired by my American Ninja Warrior experience called Pull Up. And the whole reason I painted it is because God asked me to. Like, there's this girl named Jessie Graff who is a superstar on the show. She's a full-time stunt woman and just incredibly strong. And God was like, I need you to paint her. And I was like, okay, why? And I went and I had to fly to Los Angeles to photograph her and do the photo shoot for the painting. And I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to paint her. And then I was at the gym with her and she does a pull-up and God was like, that's it, get it, take it, do it. And I was like, okay, the pull up, but I still didn't know why, you know? And then I wake up in my hotel room the next morning and God was like, I feel like God gets frustrated. Like I'm a little bit dense, but he was like, Jenedy, listen, okay, here's the concept. So I sent my kids to a world acted on by gravity, Jenedy. Downward forces are acting on my kids at all times, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I need you to pull up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it like hit me over the head. I'd never even seen that in a pull-up before. But then God was like, yeah, and Jenedy, what happens when you resist that gravity, when you pull up against that downward pull is you get stronger. And when you get stronger, you can help lift other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the pull-up because we are all capable of doing it, to be honest. Okay, there might be some people who, like, if you only have one arm, and even then, you could probably still do it. You just have to train more.
Yeah.
But, like, I think most people are capable of doing a pull-up. I think our bodies were designed to be strong and capable. Like, we are children of God. Like, Do you imagine God is weak? Do you imagine God being able to do a pull-up? Of course. Well, guess what? You're his daughter. Like, I look at my kids and I think, who are they to not be awesome? Who are they to not be strong? Like they've got this mom and they're growing up with a mom who's flying through the air and catching stuff, right? And it puts in their mind, well, that's normal, right? Well, just think about who your father is and what do you perceive him being able to do? Mm-hmm. Well, why would you put barriers for yourself, you know?
Right.
And the thing is that the pull up, it just takes a large quantity of time. Like, you're probably not going to get a pull-up in a 6-week challenge. You're probably not even going to get a pull-up in a 90-day challenge. Like, it could take up to a year, 2 years. And I think most people just tap out because they're like, yeah, well, who wants to do that? Yeah. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you're setting limitations on yourself.
Right.
It's not that you can't.
Right.
It's that you either you don't care enough to try, or you don't have the patience to see it through to the end. You know?
Well, it's kind of like anything in life. The possibility is there, but it takes work.
So much work.
Right?
The Lord loves effort.
Work and effort. Yeah. It's like, forget it.
Effort.
Well, I mean, you have created this whole movement now. I mean, what was the catalyst for creating the Strong Woman Experience this last year? And how did you know it was something you needed to step into, even without knowing the outcome? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was actually that painting pull-up that I told you about that was the catalyst for this whole conference. I had no idea when I painted it what I was really starting. In fact, I thought it was such a beautiful concept that I painted it 6 feet tall, and my mom was like, "So, we're doing a 6-foot painting of a girl doing a pull-up, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, because 'cause isn't it awesome? I mean, look at her freaking back. It's like she's so jacked." And she was like,
She is.
"Cool.
I've seen that painting.
What are you gonna do with it?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't know. I know not say the Lord commanded me. I mean, this is like the pattern for my life, right?" Like, I'll figure that part out later.
I'm going
And
with
what
it.
happened was kept sending other women into my path, and this picture of strength expanded to include cancer survivors, amputees, 90-year-old widows, and I realized that strength has very many facets, and it can look different on a lot of people. And I had been painting for 20 years and never seen a solo show or any body of work solely dedicated to strong women. Doesn't mean that it's never happened, but I had never seen it. And I thought, we've seen women painted in the nude. We've seen women painted as just like beauty icons. I've seen a lot of like kind of like fashion contemporary paintings of women are just supposed to look beautiful. But I had never seen like the strength of women, and I just felt like it was time to tell that story. So it took me several years, but I started acquiring all these pieces. And then God just kind of put in my heart, Jenedy, they need to share their stories. And I was like, oh, what? And like I said, it's so beautiful how God leads us like one step at a time. Because I had a friend in my studio and she's a pretty powerful woman. She was like a CEO, and I was telling her about this idea and she said, "Oh, Jenedy, this isn't an art show. This is a conference." And I was like, "What? A conference?" She's like, "Oh yeah, Jenedy, you should host a conference." So I was thinking, the only thing I've ever hosted is a birthday party for my kids. Like, I don't know the first thing about hosting a conference.
Yeah.
But as soon as she said it, I felt it, and this is this pattern of like God putting something in my heart, and it comes with a feeling. It comes with, this is right. It comes with a feeling of warmth and light. And I know that it's something that I need to do. And then I just have to take the next step to figure out how to make it happen. So it took a couple of years, but yeah, in September of this year, September 26th, we had the first ever Strong Woman Experience. And that's another thing. Like, it wasn't just a conference. Because after my friend said that, a few months later, I'm at another event and telling somebody else about it. And this guy says, "Oh, no, this isn't a conference. This is an experience. You can't just have a strong woman conference and sit." And I was like, oh my God, and it was like just little pieces at a time come together. And then I was like, oh yeah, like what it was in the morning, we had the art show and people sharing their stories of strength. And then the afternoon was at a ninja gym. And it's 44,000 square feet. It's the largest ninja gym in the country. And I filled it with like 40 breakout sessions covering different facets of strength. So if you wanted to focus on mental strength, you could. If you wanted to focus on spiritual strength, you could. If you wanted to focus on nutrition, or if you wanted to try ninja or Zumba or aerial silks or self-defense, like there was a whole myriad of things to choose from.
That's
And
cool.
what was so amazing was really the women themselves, like getting 500 women in one space, like gathering all of their strengths together. And it was like electric. And I have a feeling it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm back in the space of not knowing. I don't know for sure when the next one will be or what it will look like. I just know that we're going to do it again.
But there's a need for it. I mean, you had 500 people show up to that.
I know I sold out like
Yeah.
the first
I mean,
time.
that's saying something. There's a need for that.
Well, and I think it was really unique because my message that I gave, and you can actually see all the speeches from the conference on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Jenedy Paige Art. And so you can go and kind of experience a little piece of it. But was this idea that we keep physical strength over here and we put spiritual strength over here. Like when you're in church, when are you talking about physical strength?
Right.
Maybe once a year if you're going to cover like word of wisdom or something. And then like, when you're in the gym, when are you talking about your spiritual health? Never, unless you've got friends from church that are there working out with you, and you're female. So, but most of the time it's like very different worlds. But like, I realize I am a daughter of God, so I'm a spirit, and then I'm also a body, and that these two things reside in me simultaneously. And one thing I've learned from my own experience is that as I strengthen my spirit, my body feels stronger. And as I strengthen my body, my spirit feels stronger. And so I think it was a really unique aspect to have like a spiritual uplifting message and then to go work out,
Yeah.
because we usually don't have those in the same space. And actually it was kind of hard to pitch because of that, because when you're going around to these companies and you're trying to get people to sponsor you and people to believe in it, and they're like, wait, there's art, and then there's like uplifting inspirational messages, and then you're going to like lift weights, and it was like hard for them to understand. But then when we actually experienced it together, it was absolutely amazing.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
It's empowering to hear people's
Yeah, because
stories.
I think like for me, like my spiritual health is tied to my mental health a lot, like,
Yeah.
and if you can mentally and spiritually prepare yourself and tell yourself you're strong and hear the stories of all these women who've done incredible things, then you then go into the gym in that headspace, and then you surprise yourself with what you're able to do, and then you think, well, maybe I'm capable of more than I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of us have a version of imposter syndrome, right? Like, I can't do that. I'm not, capable of being on a ninja track, or what do you call
For
it? The
sure.
ninja, I mean, the course. I mean, gosh, that would be so intimidating. But after you hear these women's empowering stories, I mean, you had a variety of different women that spoke about a variety of different experiences, and life is messy. I mean, and you talk about the messy middle. What does that mean to you? And why is kind of that space so sacred to you? Because life is messy. Life is not easy.
And I feel like the mess sometimes keeps people from making it to the finish
Mhm.
because it can
Yeah.
get overwhelming. Like as an artist, I'm very familiar with the messy middle. Like my paintings go through very awkward phases. I almost never, like, I have a painting called Coming Full Circle. It's on the cover of my book. It's been published by the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints in their magazines, all these things. And I almost didn't even finish it because the middle was so messy. She was so ugly. It was hard for me to, I felt embarrassed working on it because it looked so bad. And I was thankful at the time I had this mentor who was telling me, Jenedy, it's going to be amazing. You just keep going. I know the drawing is off a little bit right now, but that's fine. You'll fix the drawing. It will come around. And just, he kept like encouraging me. And then today it's like one of my favorite paintings I've ever done. Right.
Interesting.
And I think about life, and a lot of times from the start to the end, from the beginning of a goal, like you should paint a bunch of strong women and you should do a conference, to actually hosting the conference. There's all these times in the middle of tension of like, how am I going to pay for it? Will people even come? Am I even going to sell any tickets? Like, is this going to be $100,000 really sad experiment? And all of these questions come up, and it's hard and it's difficult. And it's just like the middle of the painting. But the good news is we have that mentor. Like we have a Father in heaven that when we're in the messy middle, like I remember crying at my easel telling God, like, I am going to be destitute. I'm going to be bankrupt after I do this conference because it took so long to build the momentum with sponsors and to build the momentum of buying tickets, that it just feels like so scary.
Yeah.
But if you just keep trusting in that mentor is telling you this is going to be beautiful, then like when I finished Coming Full Circle, I stood in front of the painting and I wept because it was like more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. And when I stepped out onto the stage at the Hale Theater for the Strong Women Experience in September, I just wept because it was like seeing the finished picture,
Yeah.
And the truth is that now I've done enough paintings that have been ugly and have turned beautiful that I have this confidence now that just about any painting I start, it will be beautiful. And I have more patience now in the messy middle because I know it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I think, as we have enough life experiences and trusting God and seeing things through the messy middle, it gives us more confidence moving forward that when we take on the next task, even though there's going to be this opposition, that it's going to be really beautiful at the end.
It's a great metaphor for life.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, how has partnering with Christ helped you withstand the storms of your own life and continue leading others? I mean, you've lost a child, you've gone through some really hard things, but you have overcome and superseded. I mean, what you're doing now, did you ever dream you'd be in the place you're in right now? It's incredible.
No. But that's, it's like, that's the beautiful thing about partnering with Christ, is that he can do all things. And I think the most important thing that we can do is work to establish like our own relationship with him and learn to hear him. Because I think that is like the most precious thing that you can have, because some people will say, "Oh, Jenedy, like, where does all your confidence come from?" And I just thinking, no, I don't have any confidence in myself. Well, I do, but my confidence is so tied to him, right? It's knowing that, like, if I tie myself to him, then we can do all things together.
Mm-hmm.
And my son fell in a swimming pool in 2011. And prior to his accident, I had this dream one night that I was on this stormy sea, just like you see in the movies, with big dark clouds and huge waves. And in the dream, I woke up and I looked down and I'm standing on the water and the wind is whipping. And I remember just continuing to look at my feet and be like, this is really weird that I'm just standing here. And then my vision went from my feet up my body to like my core, and then like right across my chest there were ropes. And I was like, oh. And then like I look behind me and the Savior is standing like right behind me, like I'm roped to him.
Oh.
And I woke up from that dream and it was so profound, because it's like as we tie ourselves to him, like there's this hymn called Master of the Tempest is Raging, and it says, no waters can swallow the ship where lies the master of ocean and earth and skies. Like no ship can swallow him. And so like if you tie yourself to him, then you're not going down either. Like if he's in the boat with you, you're in the boat with him, then no wave is going to overtake you. And I think it was so profound that God gave me that dream prior to this ginormous wave just crashing over my life, and that it was water, because water and I have continued to have a very difficult relationship. And my son was resuscitated and life flighted, and then we spent like 7 weeks in the hospital, and he did experience storms. It was like part of the brain trying to recover from the lack of oxygen, but it was the fight or flight response is your sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system would just kind of like freak out, and it looked like a seizure. Like everything would shake, all of his arms, every muscle in his body would flex. And it would last like 20 minutes, the storm. And then after 20 minutes, he would just pass out in exhaustion. And the storms kept coming, and there was no Valium or morphine or any kind of sedative that would stop the storms. And I realized that we were like in unknown territory with doctors. And, you realize that medicine doesn't actually know everything.
Yeah.
And all I could do as a mom was like stand through the storm. But I didn't stand alone, because I had tied myself to the Savior, and I felt supported. I really did. Like, I remember walking through those hospital halls. My son was in the hospital for almost 2 months, and I remember feeling like flanked by angels, like just like so much power. And then my son ended up passing away because the storm feared to be like 48 hours, and his body just broke, couldn't handle it. And that's when like my emotional storms, right? It's like the physical storms had an end, but then you start a whole nother round of storms. And the Savior continued to hold me through the anger, the frustration, the sorrow, the deepest kind of grief that you can imagine, And I remember writing in my journal, I have heard that Jesus Christ is the healer of our souls. I've read about it. I've read about it in the scriptures. I've seen him help other people. But this tear, this divide in my soul is so great. Like, we're talking the Grand Canyon here. And I just don't know if it will ever come back together. And I actually would have well-meaning people tell me, Jenedy, you're never going to be whole again in this life. Like, you won't be whole again until you're with him in the resurrection.
That's awful.
Being like, thank you. Like, what do you say that? And I think because some people believe that. I think some people actually believe that when you lose a child, that tear is so enormous and so big and so great that in this life it may never come back together completely. And for me, it just became this experiment with God. Like, I don't know if you can, but I'm here for it. I'm here to try. I'm here to experiment upon the word to see if your son can really do what I've been promised that he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to become like the living experiment. And what's amazing is I found out for myself, because I have been through it, that not only can he put you back together, that he can close that great divide, but that is the new starting place for the 2.0 version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That if you let him, he doesn't just stop when the walls come together. He doesn't just stop when the pieces of the heart heal.
Yeah.
No, then he continues to expand and grow from there and make you a better version of yourself than you could have possibly imagined. And it's all like, I have no other explanation for it than the power of tying yourself to Jesus Christ and allowing him to work in your life.
That's such a powerful visual image too, of tying yourself to Jesus Christ. I mean, that is the key in life, figuring that out and trusting that and having enough life experiences to know that he really is going to be there in the hardest moments and that he has the ability to kind of peel that chasm between tragedy and reality and what we're going to face in this life. That is so beautiful how you said that. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your life with us. I mean, these are very sensitive things that we're talking about, and that how you use art to create strong women and the narrative that you're creating, this initiative that you've created for strong women. It's amazing. It's definitely inspired. And you're such a good example of a strong woman physically and spiritually. And thank you for taking your time today to share these messages with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
This is the What Now Podcast.